You know the saying about how people who can't remember the past are condemned to repeat it? Well, our final story tonight is about people who remember the past and yet they choose to repeat it over and over and over again. They just hope that there are some people around to watch and to listen. It was a gorgeous October day, great for riding or walking along Grant's Trail in St. Louis County, and along the way stopping at the Sappington House, because this was a particularly good day for traveling back in time. The Sappington House is open now and again for tours, but was open this particular weekend because it was a special moment in the life of this house. It was 200 years old. This brick home on Sappington Road in what is now Crestwood was built when Thomas Jefferson was president. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were in charge of the Louisiana Territory they had just explored. It's that old.
It's unbelievable that it could still be standing after 200 years. It was well made. It was made with slave labor. They made all the bricks right here on the property. We think the barns were maybe across the street where Crestwood School is, and the slave quarters were down in that area.
The home has been open to the public since 1966 after a campaign first to save it and then to restore it as a museum. And although it had been empty for a few years and vandalized, a woman had been living in the house until 1959. And except for a few light bulbs, it was, in many ways, still a 19th century house.
This was an oak burl taken off of the...
And no running water.
No running water.
No running water. Right, no running water, and she cooked on a Franklin stove. And she heated with the fireplaces and other Franklin stoves.
On this 200th anniversary of the Sappington House, it was a little easier to immerse yourself in the past. In planning this, somebody pulled out the Rolodex with all the numbers of the candlemaker, the basketweaver, the quilter, the wood carver, and of course, the blacksmith. These are people who, like the Sappington House volunteers, have a love for history and the old ways. People who are always willing to try to tie us to the past.
And by the way, you can make a rope any length or any diameter by merely increasing the amount of strands or by using larger string.
Everett Lyerla is a retired contractor from Alton, Illinois, but still very active in the rope-making business. Actually, it's not really much of a business. He sells a few jump ropes and things. Mostly he's invited to events like this to show visitors how it's done.
I'm going to need this young lady over here. Come over here, ma'am. Okay, and when I say walk, I want you to walk.
I'll walk. I can do that.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Is that cool?
Right up to the machine.
There you go. Oh, that is so cool.
And there we made a rope.
There was a time when just about every town had a rope maker, and in seaports and river towns like St. Louis, it was an essential business. Manufacturing was done in long, skinny buildings called rope walks. They'd be about 12 feet wide and 800, 1,200 feet long or longer. This is Golden's Rope Walk in South St. Louis near what is now Arsenal and Interstate 55. Lyerla has researched a lot of the history of rope making, and he's been asked to make authentic period ropes for an authentic period restoration of a sailing ship. How did you get started in this, Everett?
I started 29 years ago, and I was out at Fort Weotnot in Lafayette, Indiana, and the gentleman was making rope, and every year I would watch him, and we got acquainted, and he said, I'm going to give you a drawing of the first rope machines, and I made that machine.
And the rest is living history. He now travels around doing this sort of thing, and when he's not making rope, he's making brooms. It's possible that a visitor might, as he did 29 years ago, get hooked on this sort of thing and carry on the work. The volunteers at the Sappington House certainly hope that happens with their group. The home is owned by the city of Crestwood, supported by fundraising, but it takes volunteers to keep it open.
The younger generation has not realized the importance of saving these old places.
But you bring in school kids here.
Yes, we do, and that's what we're hoping, that will, encourage them to learn about history and to want to do these things and maybe volunteer when they get older.
And so on a gorgeous October day, the Sappington House turned 200 years old. A survivor, which, like the old skills and crafts that were on display, is still being preserved by a dedicated few and handed down from generation to generation.